It's really good to see everybody here. Got a full house. It's always a pleasure to see a full house. Well, maybe sometimes more so than others, but tonight it's really great to see you. We have some important recognitions, and those are always fun to be part of. This is a regular meeting of the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners for this evening. There'll be one more in November and only one in December, and we hope many of you will be back. I'm calling this meeting to order, and I'll be asking you momentarily, as I asked Reverend Johnny Cox from Fieldcrest Church of God in Eden to come forward and deliver our invocation. And as we stand, please stand for after the invocation for the Pledge of Allegiance. And at that time, Commissioner Hall will be introducing a young man that will lead us in that. So, Reverend Cox.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight in the name of your Son, Jesus. Lord, we praise you tonight because we know that you're God, that you have all power, and that there's no other God beside you. We praise you tonight for every blessing that you have bestowed upon us because, Lord, we realize every good gift comes from you. We pray now, Lord, for this county commissioners meeting tonight, that would you lead, would you guide, and would you direct in everything that is done. May your will be accomplished. And my Lord, each member, would you just lead them by your Holy Spirit, God, that they'd make the decisions, Lord, that would be pleasing to you and for the betterment of this county. Bless again and touch now. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Tonight, we are honored to have the presence of Hunter Fain. If you'll make your way up, he's 18 years old. He attends Rockingham County High School, and of course, he's a member of Boy Scout Troop 733. If you'll do the pledge, we'd appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And everybody but Hunter can sit down, and I've taken a moment of privilege to ask Hunter. Hunter is a brand new Eagle Scout. He told me he made it about 2 days. And Hunter, if you would share with us your Eagle Scout project.
I need to turn around, or I'm facing y'all. I'm not sure.
Just face.
Stay right where you are. Do what you want.
I just want to make sure I do this right.
What a good attitude. I wish you could share that with many other people I know. Go ahead.
What I did for my Eagle Scout project, I built some boxes that I put at the governmental center, the Board of Elections, the Sheriff's Department, and the Wentworth Town Hall. And basically for anybody who wants to have a flag retired the correct way, they can put in that box, and I'll see to it that, it's done, and it's done the right way. And that's about all I had.
Hunter, what do you aspire to do as a career?
I know I'd like to go into trades. I ain't really decided which one yet.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot of use for you there, and we thank you for your assistance tonight. And once again, I want to applaud Hunter for his efforts. Mr. Lance Messler, our county manager, has a recognition to begin with in regards to Operation Green Light.
Yes, sir. It's a resolution supporting Operation Green Light in honor of our veterans. Whereas the residents of Rockingham County have great respect, admiration, and gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served our country and this community in the armed forces, and whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our citizens. And whereas Rockingham County seeks to honor these individuals who have made countless sacrifices for freedom by placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all, and whereas veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, and civil service, and whereas there are approximately 700,000 veterans in the state of North Carolina, with over 5,400 of them being in Rockingham County. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members nationwide transition to civilian communities annually, where studies indicate that a high percentage of service members experience excessive levels of stress during the transition from military to civilian life. And whereas active military service members transitioning from military service are at a high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And whereas the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel while defending our freedom, and believes that specific recognition should be given them an appreciation of their service to demonstrate the honor and support they have earned. And whereas Rockingham County wants to remind our veterans that they are never alone in their journey, and to ensure that they know the community services are available to assist and support them. Now, therefore, be it resolved, as we approach Veterans Day 2023, and in observance of Operation Greenlight, Rockingham County encourages its citizens to honor the service and sacrifices of our men and women in uniform transitioning from active service, and recognize the importance of honoring all those who have made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in the window of their place of business or residence through November 12, 2023. Adopted this 6th day of November 2023. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Metzler. Seek a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Motion made. Seconded. Further discussion here, none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by nay. And motion carries. I'm now going to ask my colleagues to come down front, and Mr. Metzler will have another recognition for us. And we'll be down momentarily, and you can commence.
And I'd like to ask Jason, Julian, Stacy, and anybody else who's with the Julian family to come forward with the commissioners. I've got it right here. I can read it. You just take that.
You can read that as you do.
Yes, sir. Well, it's an honor and a privilege today to be able to read this resolution honoring Jason Julian. Whereas Jason R. Julian, a lifelong resident of Rockingham County, attended Rockingham County High School and North Carolina State University, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. And whereas Jason Julian, prior to graduating North Carolina State University, began working at the North Carolina Department of Transportation as a summer engineer assistant at the Rockingham County Maintenance Division, and upon graduation was hired as the first assistant district engineer in the Reedsville District Office, has served as assistant division design, construct engineer, and deputy division traffic engineer for Division 7, which includes Rockingham County, Caswell, Guilford, Alamance, and Orange counties. Served as county maintenance engineer for Rockingham County and district engineer for Rockingham County and Caswell counties. And whereas his major job accomplishments include the implementation of the financial system for NCDOT, paving of many gravel roads in the county, project manager for the widening of Freeway Drive, designing and supervising the roundabout at the Eden Library, project manager for the Northern Loop in Greensboro, project manager for the construction of the new district engineer's office in Reedsville, and coordination of snow and ice removal. But what reportedly inspires him most is improving the safety of the highways, helping citizens find resolutions to issues, and working with his team and watching them grow professionally. And whereas Jason R. Julian has served the community by being a pack leader for Cub Scouts, president and coach of the Wentworth Ball Program, coaching T-ball and softball, worked with the Rockingham County High School Cougar Band boosters, has volunteered many hours to help with cleanup after major storms and tornadoes in the county, and has also given of his time and expertise by serving on the North Carolina State Employees Credit Union Board and Piedmont Triad Regional Council. And whereas the county manager, Lance Metzler, has described Jason R. Julian as being the best resident engineer that he has had the privilege to work with over his course of 30 years working with 6 local governments, and that Mr. Julian has always addressed the county needs immediately and has well represented NCDOT. Whereas Jason R. Julian has enriched Rockingham County by his 28 years working with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and generously given of himself in so many areas, sharing his time, abilities beyond his work at NCDOT. Now therefore be it resolved by the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners that Jason R. Julian will be honored for his 28 years with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, improving the quality and safety of the roads in the county, and for his many contributions to the citizens of Rockingham County. Adopted this 6th day of November.
Do you recognize this fella? Well, we recognize it, and I got to tell you, I've got a special fondness for Jason Julian because commissioners get all sorts of complaints. It's like we worked in Penny's or someplace in the complaint department, and anything that has to do with roads, I give them Jason Julian's number. And he does a great job in taking care of people's worries and concerns. And he has truly represented this county well as far as taking care of all the system. And we're glad to have his entire family here. Well, not his entire, some significant people of his family. Jason, you're going to be extremely missed. I can't understand why you put this off just to go on a cruise, but maybe you have. Anyhow, on behalf of the county commissioners and indeed the entire county, congratulations. We hope your retirement is rewarding.
Thank you so much.
Well, yeah, I don't recognize that person, so I do really appreciate that from the commissioners, Lance, for those kind words. Lance and I, when we both started working with each other, our hair was as black as my dad's coat right here. So I don't know if I calls him gray or he calls me gray, but I had a great time working with Lance and his staff. His staff's great, from economic development to planning to the whole gamut. We've had a great time working, and real quick. So this started over 100 years ago. So my grandpa worked for Rockingham County and started in 1908. He was driving a mule train, scraping roads for the county, for Rockingham County, in 1908 started. He worked there 21 years, and then for some reason he worked 2 years in Guilford County, and then the State Highway Commission took over all the roads in 1931 for the whole state. Mm-hmm. So he came back to Rockingham County and worked in the county and served for 50 years total. So he retired from the Department of Transportation. Maybe it was the State Highway Commission back then, but he retired over 50 years of working either for the counties or for the State Highway Transportation Commission.
Wow.
So, and some of you probably like, well, I don't know any Julians that's worked that long. Well, it was my mom's dad. And if you've ever been on US 220 near Madison and you go across on the bypass and you go across the Dan River, you see Rush C. Collins Bridge. That's my grandpa. So every time you go across that now, you'll say, oh, he built roads in the county. So his blood ran through my mom, which ran through me. So I guess had to be, I never met him. He passed before I was even born. So it just came through. It was in my blood. My mom said I had to go work for the state, I guess. I don't know. But the cool thing was he worked down here on 65 at the maintenance camp, and that's where I actually got to work as well. So cool story, great family history. Been doing DOT stuff in the county for many years. But I really do appreciate it. Thank y'all so much.
I want you to hang loose and just show this. She's going to take a picture. And Mrs. Julian, if you want a picture made, we can do that.
Okay, can we get a little closer? Act like you like each other.
Thank you. Appreciate it. He couldn't have done it without that marvelous education and parenting. Thank you. Stay down here. We got one.
Good to see you. Great son, great son.
And I believe our fire marshal is present. I asked her to come up, and she has a presentation to make.
I brought Jeremy, our Assistant Fire Marshal, to help give the presentation tonight.
Just to give you an opportunity to see how quickly a situation can change, in October of 2022, the Monroe Fire Department, along with EMS, was dispatched to a fall call, meaning somebody had fell down, they needed some assistance. While they were en route to that location, communications advised them that the caller was saying that they were now hearing snoring respirations. Well, just so all of you know, snoring respirations means that their breathing patterns are so bad that's not able to sustain life. So when Monroe quickly arrived on the scene, they established an airway and started administering CPR. They continued CPR with EMS until they regained pulses. EMS quickly transported the patient with pulses. For that, that's a big thing for us here in this county. We've come a long way with EMS and our technologies that we have, from AEDs to blind airway insertions, to really give people in this county an opportunity for full life. For their life-saving efforts, we would like to recognize 3 members of the Monroe Fire Department for their actions that day. With the following members, please come forward as we call your name. Dwayne Smith. Got you a lifesaver award here. We appreciate your service. Thank you. Next person I'd like to have come forward is Steve Hall. I have you a certificate here. Thank you for all that you do for the citizens of the county and our fire district as well. Jeremy has something for you. And last but not least for this one is Will Ryerson. Thank you for all that you do. You're welcome, Jeremy. One of the things that I'd like for people to understand in this county, a lot of people don't know, most of the fire departments in this county are volunteer. A lot of them do have part-time paid people, and some are slowly starting to get full-time paid people, but not on a regular basis. They may have a full-time person a couple of days a week. So, you know, what these guys do and them stepping out and above and beyond, really, and every other volunteer firefighter and rescue squad member, it really says a whole lot for their love and care for the people in this county. So let's give them another big round of applause.
You guys are in the middle. And Rebecca's going to take care of the public works.
Melissa, can I come in, have you come forward? If y'all 3 can scoot in, scoot. Williams.
Well done.
Thank you.
We need to do that. Thank you.
So if I could have Hunter Hall come forward, please. On August 16th of this year, Hunter and his sister were spending time with their grandfather, as many children do. Little did he know what was about to happen that day. Hunter's grandfather had a bad fall down a set of stairs and it knocked him unconscious. He had an injury to his head with bleeding and wasn't responding. In his quick actions, Hunter immediately called 911 to get help for his grandfather. Fire and EMS responded and transported Hunter's grandfather, which, by the way, I'm going to add, is here with us tonight. It was several hours before Hunter was even able to know for certain that his grandpa was okay from the fall, because I talked to Hunter's mom earlier in the day, and they were still waiting to get all the final results. Tonight, we requested the county commissioners to recognize Hunter for his quick actions. Hunter was only 13 years old at the time, and he was probably scared, as well as his sister probably was. But they were quick to get into action. Quickly made an action that made a difference, and for those swift actions and his bravery, we would like to recognize you tonight, Hunter. I have your certificate of recognition here from the County Fire Marshals. We appreciate what you've done. and taking care of your grandpa in swift actions. And we also have your challenge board. I'll stay on the outside.
There you go. Take pictures. Go ahead,
You gotta get him in fitness training.
Okay, if I can get y'all to stand, yeah, come forward a little bit. There we go. We were synchronized.
If you don't turn out and call me, I'll be hurt.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. He knows.
Break both the camera.
No, they don't. Thank you. Yeah.
We do have some outstanding citizens in this county, and thanks to the Monroe Fire Department, the Boy Scouts, and citizens in general who take prompt action. And I'm glad the 911 folks worked out so well for Principal Hall, if you didn't recognize him here. Gentlemen, you've had the agenda for over 2 weeks now and a chance to review it. Are there any adjustments that need to be made prior to approval?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make an amendment to remove the closed session from tonight's meeting agenda.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion before approval of the whole agenda minus closed session. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Likewise, you've had the consent agenda. For those of you that are not familiar with the consent agenda, those are generally non-controversial items that come up as a matter of routine and our staff presents to us, and in the interest of time, they're considered as a whole. If you do have questions about any individual item in this list on the consent agenda, by all means, contact our county manager. He'll be happy to help you with it and provide explanation, and if necessary, we'll bring them back for further discussion or review. That said, gentlemen, you've had the consent agenda. Are there any questions, adjustments, or approval?
Make a motion for approval.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion here. None. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Thank you very much. And then we're now going to move to the next item on your list, which is public comment. I only have one person signed up to talk, and it's one of our favorite speakers there, James. So happy to see you. If you'd come forward, and as you come forward, we're going to ask our county manager to read off the directions that we try to honor.
Sure. The public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to county business or items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners, not to the staff, the audience, and media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and physical address when he or she approaches the podium. Each citizen shall be allotted 3 minutes. Citizens will be allowed to yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing one more attendee's time. This will allow no more than 6 minutes. The total amount of time allotted for the public comment period is 30 minutes. Your time will be displayed on the monitor up front. The time clock will start with 3 minutes. You will hear a beep when at 1 minute to alert you to wrap up your comments. If you are to yield your time as yielded to you, then please let the chairman know in advance. Speakers will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, or use language of a personal nature, which insults or demeans any person or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral statements. Written statements can be delivered to the county manager's office.
Good to see you, sir.
Good evening. My name is James Tharrington. My residence is 349 Mark Road, Reedsville, NC, 27320. Tonight I rise for two reasons, one as a pastor and one as a concerned citizen. First of all, I want to thank you, Mr. Richardson, our commissioners, and to all of our officials that we finally got the gym floor in at South End. I want to thank you all for helping make that come to pass. So thank you for that process, and hopefully we'll be able to get into our gym floor real soon. Secondly, I rise tonight as the pastor of Evangel Fellowship here in Reedsville, Church of God in Christ, to not ask for anything, but to bring to attention of our county commissioners. When I stood before you back in the spring of this year and asked many of you all the condition of our school at South End and the floor, you all made it happen. One of the words that you used to me when we were talking about building new schools, expansion, and looking at all the things that are happening in Rockingham County, you used the word stewardship and how you have to be accountable to all 91,000 of our residents here. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't know if you are aware of what's happening in our schools every day, all 23 schools in Rockingham County. The level of food that is wasted, the level of food that is thrown into the trash can every day. I'll give you a prime example, Halloween of this year, October 31st, 2023. I work for Rockingham County as the homeless education assistant. I clock in at 7:45 and work to 4:15. But from 7:20 to 7:40, we have a program called Ties for Guys. And my wife works with Pearls for Girls, teaching young men how to tie ties, but mentoring. The teacher came out of her classroom, had to dump food because she was told to do so. This was not food that was hot, eggs or bacon. It was, to be exact, cartons of milk, 15, to be exact, 8 juices and 7 banana cake breads dumped in the trash can because she was told to do so. The level of food that we have been said or told from the federal government that we cannot use that food is not only tragic, but from a pastoral standpoint, it's a sin and a shame. Because whether we know it or not here in Rockingham County, we have a growing homeless problem and people that need food. And so tonight, I'm not asking for anything. I just want to make you all aware as stewards of our county, the food that's thrown away every day. Think about what I said as I close. 15 cartons of milk. 7 of those still had to November the 7th date. The others had to November the 8th date. 8 juices and banana bread. 30 items went in the trash from one class in one school. Do the math, and I hope and pray that we don't become numb because we waste food every day. And our church is taking the lead, and our motto is, as I close, this can happen on our watch. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Reverend Tharrington. I think your point's well taken. I don't have anybody else signed up for public comment. We'll move to item 10, and Caitlin Michaud, Crescendo Consulting Group. I might point out that your fee was covered by the Reedsville Area Foundation and not by the county, so I'm sure we'll have something interesting for us here.
Good evening, County Commissioners, and thank you also for our community residents here tonight. I am presenting on the County Behavioral Health Gaps Needs Assessment that was completed over the past 6 months here. So my name's Caitlin Michaud. I'm the Managing Principal of Crescendo Consulting Group. This past year, the county and its the Foundation and a variety of other partners came together to do this needs assessment, and we were hired to conduct this for the past 6 months, and we are just now wrapping up the project and here to present you the final results. On Wednesday, we are also doing a community presentation as well in the morning to really anyone who would like to come to that presentation. So our objectives for this project is really to understand the current landscape here of behavioral health services in Rockingham County, here in the county, but also maybe more regionally as well, knowing that many services are sought outside of the county as well. We wanted to understand, too, for county residents, what are some of the common barriers or challenges they may come to accessing behavioral health services, again, within the county specifically, but also regionally as well. And then to identify those potential gaps in the system and potential solutions and strategies and recommendations on how we can address those needs here, again, locally going forward. If you do have questions, feel free to stop me anytime and ask questions as well. I'm happy to take those. As far as our methodology and how we approach this research, we took a mixed method approach with both quantitative and qualitative data. So we really focused on any available data that was whether it's behavioral health to your demographics in the data. And then we also looked at service use data too from a variety of partners here in the county to help give us more real-time data, knowing a lot of the secondary data that is available is a few years old thanks to some delays due to COVID at the state level and federal level as well. But in addition to looking at data, we also focused on the qualitative and the community engagement as well. And really that's where we heard a lot of stories from county residents. At the end of the day, after completing a bunch of focus groups, interviews, and a survey, we were able to come up with a list of needs, and we worked with the leadership group to identify the prioritized needs, and you'll see the results of that in today's presentation. Earlier, we had really good community engagement here in the county. We held over 30 focus groups and community meetings, and about 150 or so, plus or minus a few, community members here participated in those. In addition, in the community survey, we had over 431 validated respondents from community residents as well. You can see on the high levels action area graphic here, these are the key findings from the qualitative work. We wanted to showcase some of those, and you can see a few of them are really around awareness of existing services, because there are quite a few services here in the county, but maybe not everyone is aware of them. Also the navigation piece of it too. And then there's, again, limited services, so there's not a complete continuum of care for behavioral health in this county here. As I mentioned, these are the final results, the 8 categories of needs after the needs prioritization session. In the coming slides, I'll show you a selection of some of those strategies and recommendations going forward. But at a high level here, we have advocacy, policy, and changes, awareness and stigma reduction. We have health prevention, early intervention, harm reduction, services for people in the criminal justice system, addressing the behavioral health workforce shortage, retention and recruitment of providers, the continuum of care and service gaps for adults and older adults, but also for youth as well. And then social determinants of health. Now, these are not in any sort of prioritized order. They are just in alphabetical order. In the right-hand column, you can see 3 comments that we received throughout that qualitative research. Within the full report that will be available shortly, you'll see a lot more of those comments and opinions and insights from community residents as well. The next series of slides here are going to be some of those strategies and recommendations that we, based on those needs, identified that could work in Rockingham County. Again, not every recommendation we made will likely work in the county. It's just not realistic based on capacity, resources, funding, some of the legislation changes as well. But they're worth looking at and evaluating to see maybe they could work here. If they don't, that's okay. Something else probably will. As one of the first recommendations we have is really create a work group of individuals. Maybe yourselves might want to serve on that. Other county officials, elected, non-elected, also providers within the community as well, and then community-based organizations as well, and of course, any concerned citizens who might also want to participate in this. And really, this work group would really review some of these strategies and work together on identifying what's next. Where do we start? Again, as a county here, you certainly don't have to do everything. I think a lot of these strategies need to come from within the community as well, and it's really a partnership and a collaboration going forward. So the next series of slides, I'm going to provide again some of the selections of some of the recommendations and strategies going forward. The first slide here is what I like to call the quick wins here. These might be easier strategies that you can just address sooner versus later because maybe you have some funding available, you have capacity to work on this. Again, a lot of these suggestions here, they might already be happening in your community, and there's opportunities to expand on what's happening already. So just, again, I won't read everything off here, but just a couple of selections here. You know, the federal government and a lot of the CDC just announced the new, or this past summer, I should say, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Instead of calling 911, a lot of people can call that when they're in mental health crisis. So, awareness, advertising that for the general public who might not be aware of that. There's also things as providing a lot of providers. I think we've heard in a lot of headlines, seen it everywhere. There's a shortage of behavioral health providers, and why we can't wave a magic wand, make people show up and have new providers as much as we'd like that. You know, opportunities for those providers that are overworked, have high caseloads. Maybe there's an opportunity for them to come together and just have, you know, the compassion fatigue they can have and serve themselves to make sure they're taking care of themselves as well, not just the community. And then I know this has already happened in the community, but continuing to build on this too is mental health first aid, trauma-informed care. I know there's been some recent trainings as well, but again, continuing to expand on that programming would be great as well. So again, just giving you a few selections by the needs areas here. Under advocacy and policy change here, again, it's just continuing advocating and educating not only elected officials, non-elected officials, and community organization leaders as well on behavioral health within North Carolina. I think as some of us heard, there's some recent changes that are going to be coming yet again. So what does that mean, and how can we all come together and try to break down some of these silos and advocate we're stronger together? As far as awareness and stigma reduction as well, there's, again, a selection of potential strategies here. Many of these don't require a lot of money or a lot of grant funding, things like that, that could be applied to these. Some of these, again, could be really done within the community as well. And some of it's little things such as using destigmatized language. So thinking about how we name groups as well. Instead of Opiate Task Force, we can use it Reclaiming Lives Coalition as well, some more positive. And of course, mental health first aid training. I know the foundation recently held a conference for some of the social workers and police officers and justice workers here in the county around trauma-informed care. So as you can see, some of these strategies, without us even knowing that, are being in place already. As far as early intervention, harm reduction, prevention as well. Again, thinking about the 988 suicide line. Also thinking about a youth as well. If you, I'm sure, seen the news already that suicide is the leading cause of death, or one of the leading cause of deaths for our youth and young adults in this country right now. So again, thinking about how we can provide support for our youth and that prevention aspect of it. As far as the people that are in the criminal justice system as well, thinking about some of our correctional facility staff, again, providing them training and support that they can help identify crises happening in the jails as well. For workforce shortage and retention and recruitment, as well as providing support for those current providers that we have so that they continue serving residents in the county as well. But there's opportunities through peer support specialists, community health workers, and non-licensed providers as well to expand opportunities here in the county. As far as continuum of care, again, services for older adults. Again, some of the Continuum of care are services that you would see in other places, maybe more urban areas of the state and others. We don't have a psychiatric hospital here in Rockingham. I'm likely guessing that's probably never going to happen, and that's okay. It's not to be expected that you're going to have everything here, but to have an improved access to care as well, and to have a way forward for those individuals that might be going into your emergency departments in your regular hospitals to have them find a bed elsewhere in the state, and also help them when they leave a hospitalization, whether it's a hospital here or elsewhere, that there's outpatient services for them within kind of the local community. So just filling in some of those gaps. Again, for youth, very similar to adults, but again, youth focus. Again, going back to provider shortages, there's an even more shortage of youth-specific adolescent providers in the community. Other ways to address some of this could be through telehealth, and I know here at the county you've done a great focus on expanding broadband access, which I think is huge for telehealth opportunities. And social determinants of health. So these are the non-healthcare things such as living wage jobs, health insurance that often comes through employment, but also housing as well is so important for people to become stable, make sure they have a safe place to sleep at night. And with that, that is my presentation. So I'm happy to take any questions you might have. Thank you.
Commissioners, questions?
I'm looking forward to seeing the full report. When did you say that'd be ready?
It should be ready at the end of this week or early next week.
Thank you.
And would you speak a little bit about what you're going to be presenting on Wednesday?
Yes, so we're doing a presentation with the Community Foundation here. And Don, I don't know if you want to say anything for it.
Okay.
But we are presenting to the community. It's open to the public. I'll put you on the spot.
Put me on the
Yes.
spot. Hey, Commissioners, and good evening. So Reedsville Area Foundation is helping to coordinate a community session where they will hear this information, but it's tailored more towards how community-based organizations can support the work. So you saw many examples of where it's not necessarily the government to step in. It is where community organizations can collaborate and host initiatives and programs. I do want to make one update. So we were not the largest funder. There were 8 funders for this project. UNC Health Rockingham, Cone Health, the county, Daymark, Compassion Healthcare, as well as, Brightview. So just to clear, it was a collaborative effort. All those partners will be at the meeting on Wednesday, and they will speak on how behavioral health has impacted their work and continues to impact their work.
What time, where?
It is at 9 a.m. To 11 a.m. at RCC in the auditorium. There will be a Q&A session available to public. We are not taking strategies. We are just hearing the report, asking questions. And our hope is that you all will, I think the first recommendation Caitlin made was for the community to form a group, to begin looking at these recommendations and have an implementation plan moving forward. So, thank you.
Further questions, gentlemen? Dawn, thank you for clarifying the folks that need credit on that. And I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
Where you talk about licensed and unlicensed professionals. I've always thought that there was a place for, let me say, non-PhD, perhaps non-master's degree, but healthcare professionals in our public schools. Do you have an example of that, or is that one of the things to which you were referring?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I think that's a great thought that you have, and I don't know specifically to schools. I can't speak to that, but I do know one of the things, peer support specialists is a common thing you see throughout the country, and it has been happening here locally in North Carolina. There was a pilot project back in 2018, and I think it was 5 or 6 hospitals across the state. I don't think there was one locally close to you per se, but it's with behavioral health peer support specialists. And this is someone that has lived experience, whether through substance use or a mental health issue. They integrated them in a hospital, so acute hospital like Cone or UNC, in the emergency department to help people that might be coming in with a behavioral health crisis, to help them really navigate the system and let them know they're not alone and here's the next steps. So it's really kind of that connection that they serve. And there is, I believe, here in North Carolina, and Felissa can correct me if I'm wrong on this, that there is an accreditation program they've been working on for peer support specialists here in North Carolina. I'm not sure how far along it is or if it's fully integrated in the community health, or excuse me, the community college level, but we see that model in many states as well. I know Maryland's one that utilizes them a lot in their hospital EDs as well.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that information, and I'm certainly going to encourage our school board to take a look at this. This is a public safety issue as well as an individual mental health issue. Other questions, gentlemen? If not, we thank you very much for your time.
Thank
and we
you.
look forward to the presentation on Wednesday.
No idea how this goes away. Sorry. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11 is from, well, I don't see Trey Wright here, is he? Hey, Trey, if you'd come forward. He's our health director here in Rockingham County, and he's going to be asking for some money, which I think we've already identified.
Good evening, Commissioners. How's everyone doing? Okay. Trying to remember how the screen works here. So tonight we're going to discuss briefly medication for opioid use disorder, so MOUD, or you may hear me interchangeably use the word MAT, in Rockingham County Public Health. So to start as a baseline, that clicker doesn't work. I want to provide some data from Vital Statistics, the North Carolina Center for Health Statistics, of overdoses here in the county. So you can see here in this slide from 2012 to 2021, all different intents of medication or drug overdose deaths. So you can see that there was a peak in all intents as well as unintentional. More so, the rate of overdose death in North Carolina compared to Rockingham County per 100,000 residents. So you can see here, the color configuration, we're much higher than the state for the rate of opioid overdose deaths. And also when we look at the ED visits, so you can see this year to date there have been, from state and vital records, 80 opioid overdose emergency department visits. And you can compare that to last year, so we are down from 105 to 80. And you can see there it's stratified per month, also by demographics, race and ethnicity, and by age. But I was also able to get from our partners over at EMS some data on what kind of calls they see, particularly with naloxone or Narcan. So just this year, they have had 250 patients that they have come upon that were non-responsive that they have actually used naloxone or Narcan for. More so, I want to share that 44% of these patients refused services thereafter. And you can see that is stratified by age, and on the bottom graph there, so that's by week. So starting, you can see 52 at 2022 till now, each week there's at least one call. And of those 255 units, of naloxone, that was for about, it was 405 doses for 250 patients, And that data does not include fire or law enforcement. That's strictly on EMS calls. So ED visits from vital records for overdose, including medications, drug dependency, you can see that's also very high. That's 171 for some type of dependency and overdose there. So I gave you these statistics because I wanted to go a little bit more before the ask about the opioid settlements. In July 2021, Attorney General Josh Stein announced there was a $26 billion agreement to help bring resources to communities, municipalities in North Carolina from the opioid settlement, so the litigation of the 4 large companies that helped create this epidemic. You may be familiar, we had the 555 deal. That was 5 county attorneys, 5 county managers, and 5 county commissioners that worked on this deal with the Attorney General's office to allocate funding back to the counties and municipalities. With that, about 85% of that $26 billion went back to counties and municipalities. So for us, in that 18-year payment, it's almost $16 million. You can see that there, $15,889,000. And a little bit more about that, there is a payment schedule. These payments are for 18 years and includes 2 separate waves of funding. The original funding was certain pharmaceutical companies. The second was some of the box pharmacies as well. So you can see the payments there of what we will see. This past year was a little bit over $1 million, and this year will be about $2.1 million. So you can see, again, in 18 years, it does trickle down to a baseline of about $389,000. But with this money and the 555 deal, there was something called a memorandum of agreement that was put together. Certain rules to use this funding. It's just not just a general fund, a free-for-all, if you will. A special revenue account must be created. Spending must be authorized in a form of a budget resolution by you all. And understand and follow the options. There was several different options of what the money could be used for, strictly around evidence-based programs, but we also must report what kind of impacts and how we use this funding annually, and also hold annual meetings with stakeholders, our community, of what strategies may be needed here in the county. So I said something about this a few seconds ago, but under the MOA, there was 2 options. Option A, our governments, local governments may fund 1 or more strategies from a list of evidence-based, high-impact strategies to address the opioid epidemic. Or B, undertake a collaborative strategic plan to look at non-binding recommendations and select some of these strategies from the option A, or a longer list of strategies from the national opioid settlements. Option A, I won't go into detail a lot of these. I did want to list these. Again, the collaborative strategic planning, so that would be someone maybe running an opioid task force. Evidence-based treatment, and you see it's in italics, and I'll go forward there here shortly. Recovery support services, housing, employment-related, early intervention, naloxone distribution, post-overdose response teams or PORT, harm reduction programs, criminal justice diversion, addiction treatment, addiction treatment for incarcerated persons, and also reentry programs. So I have number 2, evidence-based addiction treatment, in italics for a reason. The MOA states to support evidence-based treatment that includes MAT or MOUD with any medication approved by the FDA through opioid treatment programs, qualified providers of office-based treatments, federally qualified health centers offered in conjunction with justice system programs, or other community-based programs offering evidence-based treatment. And this may include capital expenditures for facilities that offer evidence-based treatment for opioid use disorder. I bring that all to you all to look at what may be the proposed program that I bring to you all tonight, and it is to provide MOUD in our local health clinic. We came to this for a few reasons, one being the lack of providers providing this service here in the county. In the past 6 months, we've had 2 agencies that are in the process of closing or have closed, and well over 150, we've estimated about 166 patients that are without that treatment home. And based on the recent review, there's only about 2 agencies in the county that are able to provide services, but still there's a limited capacity. There's still 165, 166 patients. So with this, that is staffing. One would be a provider, so our physician extender, our physician assistant, our counselor, so that would be a LPC or LCSW. And we want to provide care for at least 30 patients in year 1. 30 uninsured. This would probably most likely be a self-pay based on income, the sliding fee scale that we already do in our clinic. Again, we can slide down to almost 0 based on their income. And then 15 Medicaid, in which we can receive reimbursement for these patients to offset some of the cost. And like other counties that have went down this program venture, there is the capacity to increase it yearly. The patients will receive medication, so that's Suboxone, and behavioral health services in tandem. So Again, we can talk about our counseling. Patients will also, since we are here and we provide primary care, we can look at patient whole care as wraparound services because they need something just besides maybe substance use treatment. They have maybe not have seen a primary care provider. They may suffer from high blood pressure, diabetes, or also maybe some dental issues, and we do provide those services here already and at a sliding fee scale for those that may not have insurance. They're also able to receive the medication. We are at a reduced cost as a public health clinic through our 340B pharmacy. We are with our pharmacy here on staff. And also, it coincides with a lot of great services that we're already starting to see. Our integrated health had recently received a bridge grant to administer MAT, so Suboxone, on site after an overdose, and they can do so for 7 days. There is that need to maybe, when that person on day 8, where can they go to continue these services? And here you can see the request is approval to fund a medication for opioid use disorder, so MOUD treatment program in the health department under that option A of the MOA, evidence-based treatment as authorized by the MOA. We were looking at this as a 5-year pilot. And you can see based on the staffing, adjustments for inflation, lab tests that we'll have to do in-house to make sure individuals are taking their medication. You can see there the overall for 5 years would be $1,560,000. And that was a lot of information in a little bit of time. What kind of questions may you all have for me?
Mr. Chair. Trey, I just have a couple of points of clarification. Maybe you can help for a public understanding. I know you and I have been working on this for the last year, and we probably have a little better understanding of everything you just said than a lot of other people. So you talked on the opioid settlement funds. Just so everybody's clear, these are not local tax dollars.
No, these are from where counties, municipalities, states sued the drug companies about the opioids that they were prescribing. This is money that's come back from that litigation.
Yes, sir. And as you stated earlier, there are certain things we can spend this on, but there's a lot of things we can't spend this on. So this qualifies as one of the things that we can use the opioid settlement funds for.
Option A, evidence-based treatment.
And this may be for Lance, but the prior iteration of the board voted for option A as a way to spend and distribute these funds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think that's all I got right now, Trey. Thank you.
Question here. I assume our BHOC, when it's up and operational, will also be in a position to administer MAT?
They can stabilize an individual if they want to seek MAT, and I think Felissa may be able to correct me, they would have to refer to one of the agencies, like if we were to do this, to us or to one of the other 2 providers in the county.
And where might that be?
Right now, the 2 providers?
Yes.
Their
physical location, where are they going to be?
The James Austin Center in Eden, and also Daymark Services provides MAT.
Okay. Other questions?
Just to clarify what Mark said, so the BHUC will be where Daymark is. Yep. Daymark also provides MAT, so it wouldn't be directly.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking physically at the BHUC, but yes, they also provide MAT services at Daymark.
Well, I think that's kind of important because the citizenry in general might be able to avail themselves of that option and get treatment quicker for those that might need it.
Mr. Chair, one more. So, Trey, with the way this is presented, this program is tied directly to the opioid fund settlement. So if the opioid funds are spent, this program is spent as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
We will have cured all the opioid-addicted people by then, right?
I would love to say so, but our job, I would love to work myself out of a job. That's my plan.
This is a technical question, but as you did your numbers, through the 5-year program in particular, was that based on the same 166 folks throughout, or did you reduce that over time?
We assumed there would be more new patients coming in each year. And we based, we worked closely with 2 counties that have done this, Madison County in the West of about 23,000 people. They have a similar program, as well as Surrey County has their own MOUD program in their clinic that we've tried to base some of our information on, and they've both been very grateful to give us their policies and how they run some of their clinic structure.
And again, for public knowledge, I'm aware of Wilkes County Detention Center, their jail, is the only one in the state that has a similar program in effect. Is that correct? Is that being investigated in Rockingham County?
Yes, the Sheriff's Office has worked with the Opioid Task Force to look at MAT in the jails. Per the ADA, anyone that's in MAT or MOUD prior to incarceration, they have to provide it, and that's across North Carolina. But more and more sheriff's offices are looking at providing it, regardless of going in incarcerated for MAT, MOUD.
Trey, for the uninitiated, ADA being the Americans with Disabilities.
Yes.
Yep.
Trey, do you have anything, or are you contemplating anything as far as identifying veterans in any of the intake?
We would love to work with our veteran services, any agency that wants to refer to us. We can continue that. The referral process will probably be a tricky one on where do we get patients. We know word of mouth will probably help a lot of the referral services, also as well as our integrated health if they go to a site where the overdose occurred.
All right.
I think that's a very important point that those, when able, that we refer our veterans to a VA-provided service. I'm sure certain of these would be entitled to VA benefits, which would help us all. Further questions?
This is just sort of leading more of a comment, but Trey, why is it important that we keep our citizens alive and keep them on the straight and narrow using medically assisted treatment?
The goal, we want all citizens to be as healthy, as happy, and productive citizens here in Rockingham County, and this is a great step for some of those that do not want to be using opioids or other type of drugs. They want to be productive. We can use this as a tool to help them get employment, help them seek housing, help them get on the straight and narrow, help them control other things, whether it be hypertension, diabetes, dental care, to, one, be healthier, feel better about themselves, and hopefully be a productive citizen.
Thank you, Trey.
Other questions? Well, we're farther along than we have been, but still a long way to go on this. And I've been encouraged about what I learned was going on in Wilkes County and how effective. Now, there were other drugs, not Suboxone, that they were using, but and it doesn't fix all ills, but it removes the immediate danger of death, which I would say would be the essential action in the early stages. While you're up here, I want to recognize you in the health department. I enjoyed being part of the ribbon cutting for your dental, I'm going to call it a trailer, but your dental facility that is transportable, and right now it's at one of our schools, and I don't know which one, and you're already finding that this service is one that was critical and is going to be used and help identify worse problems out there. And I think that's a good step to providing a good service for our citizens here in Rockingham County. And I'm sure the school system is most appreciative. And I know that you did much of the legwork on that. So thank you very much. We appreciate all your efforts on our behalf. You have anything to add about anything?
No, sir.
Then sit down. We do appreciate you guys there, Essential Services.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the $209,097.27 for year one, $1,560,950.35 for the 5-year total of opioid settlement funds to implement a medication for opioid use disorder program in the public health clinic under option A, evidence-based addiction treatment as authorized under the North Carolina Memorandum of Agreement for opioid settlement funds.
Mr. Chair, before you get a second on that, would you also include to approve the budget amendment and resolution as presented to you earlier?
I amend my motion to include that as well.
Motion made and amended
Second.
and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. County Manager, do you have new business?
No, sir.
We will move on to item 13, Commissioner comments, starting with Commissioner Houston Barrow.
Thank you to everybody for coming out tonight. I just want to make everyone aware that the city of Reedsville will be holding a Veterans Day celebration this coming Saturday, November the 11th at 11 a.m. at the Market Square. So if everyone can please come out and support, we'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Berger.
Yes, thank everyone for coming out tonight, and I certainly want to thank our veterans with Veterans Day coming up this weekend. And tying in some things that we talked about tonight and also Veterans Day, there is a program that is starting to make its way across the state of North Carolina. Supreme Court Justice Philip Berger, my brother, is instrumental in trying to get this program throughout the state. It is a veteran diversion program through the court system. It has started with a check the box on the indigency application as people enter the criminal system and also some of the civil cases that they're entitled to court-appointed counsel, whether it be the domestic violence matters that come up, restraining orders, or the abuse neglect cases. And they're tied in with a group called the Independence Fund. So the idea is a lot of the veterans that return from any sort of combat have a difficult time readjusting to what we consider civilian life, everyday life. And if those people can get assistance through the VA or through some programs that are out there aligned for veterans, then it just helps them reacclimate to society. So 8 counties have implemented a program through the court system, and there are 4 more that are in the process of implementing that program. Union County has found a way to utilize the opioid settlement money to accomplish this. Some of the other counties have applied for and been granted grants through the federal government, and there's some strings attached to those. And some have received some state grants. There may be 1 or 2 that have also received some grant money from some local foundations. That money would help with hiring a coordinator, and the importance of the coordinator is to help the judges, the law enforcement folks come into contact with people that are suffering through some sort of mental issue, or some other folks in the court system steer in the correct direction of what programs are available. Oftentimes, being able to go back to the courts and to the judges and letting them know what programs the VA has available, and generally being able to get treatment at no charge for those veterans. So I'd like for us, we had a meeting that took place at our courthouse a couple of weeks ago. DA, sheriff, probation, clerk, judges, were all part of that, and the Independence Fund did a presentation. These guys are just trying to help the people who have made this country free for us by making sure they're safe as they reacclimate to society. So I'd like for us to be able to at least explore those opportunities and try to get get one of those coordinators employed here in the county to help those people. So, yeah. Thank you.
I'd certainly endorse that. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I appreciate the presentations tonight. It's very timely, I feel like. I also like to recognize our elected officials here, and I saw Paula Rakestraw, member of our school board. Thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate that. And folks, don't forget, tomorrow is municipal election day. So if you live in the city district, you could be voting for a city council member or your mayor possibly. So anyway, remember to vote tomorrow. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Last month was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. November is National Cancer Awareness Month. And I'm particularly keen on this because my youngest daughter, who had never smoked, suddenly showed up with 4-stage lung cancer. And there are remarkable things out there as far as treatments available, and she's doing fine. I do appreciate all of the concerns, particularly the burgers there and your lovely wife through that. But it highlighted the need to stay aware of your own health. And if you've got a little cough, and that's all my daughter had was a little cough, she found it was much worse. And so as a public service, I'm trying to encourage everybody, if you've got a little cough or you've got a lesion on your skin, if you've got something that just doesn't match what you're used to seeing for the rest of your life, take it to a physician or somebody that can give you some help on that. And I would encourage you also to support the various Cancer Society efforts, charitable efforts throughout there. You heard about Operation Greenlight and the encouragement to honor our veterans through this month. If you want a green light, I am told that Lowe's home improvement stores have a discount on green lights. So I would encourage you to get you a green light and show that as a matter of support for our veterans and an awareness for the citizens in general. Since we last met here at this board, 2 citizens from the western part of the county, Mr. Lewis Bottoms and Mr. Buddy Martin, have passed away. And I'm sure most of you didn't know them, but for those of us that did, between the two of them, they had well over 70 years of community service and service to Rockingham County in general. And to the Bottoms family and the Martin family, you have our sympathy, but also the recognition of another fine example of Rockingham County citizens contributing to their communities. We've been in the year of the trail for a while, and Rockingham County is a leader in this. We have various trails, some in Reevesville, some in Eden, some in Wentworth, and we have some other recreational facilities that have been helped out. And the latest one was at Hogan's Creek Park. We had a ribbon cutting earlier or middle of last week. And so if you want to hike or ride a bike, that's a good place to go. And there's a picnic facility and restrooms. And I'd like to recognize our economic development folks, particularly Lindsay Pegg, who was instrumental in doing this. But there are a whole host of folks that have helped with this effort, including the entire economic development team, Dan River Basin Association, Tom McGee and his mountain bike crew did a lot of the labors, Purina Mills, and Duke Power in particular, because they were the original donor of the property. So with that, I would remind everybody listening to the sound of this voice that our next meeting is the 20th of November here in this facility, and I would look for a motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Here none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay.